Ladies and gentlemen, Gungans and droids, am I happy that you guys tuned in today, because today we finally have some footage to show off of Bossk and the brand new original trilogy Bounty Hunter reworks. And let me just say off the bat that this is probably one of the most fun reworks I have seen in quite a long time in this game. For time-saving purposes, I'm making two videos. The video you're watching right now is solely talking about Bossk and what he offers for the Bounty Hunter faction. But if you want a full breakdown of the original trilogy Bounty Hunter reworks that are occurring, that deserves a full video on its own. So click on the card in the top right hand corner to go directly to that video to see what's cooking there. But without further ado, let's just get into it and talk about what Bossk is offering for the Bounty Hunters. In summary, Bossk's kit is all about survivability. Since he's a Transocean, he has very high durability essentially, and while he taunts, he can self-cleanse himself, gain health, regenerate protection, and at the same time, he's able to gain bonuses against weak enemies. And on top of that, the coolest thing is being able to call all Bounty Hunter allies to assist him, while he is also able to stun the primary target. And although I'm just guessing here, I'm thinking this will be a marquee event character, which is a shame because he's going to be a solid character and it will be a few months before we can farm him. But the good news is, a character of his stature and kit I think has a lot of viability even at a lower star count, as we will see. So let's dive deeper into his kit and first talk about his basic ability known as Prey on the Weak. He deals physical damage to a target enemy, and this attack is guaranteed to critically hit and deal double damage if the target he is attacking is the weakest enemy. The main goal of this basic ability is finishing off those weak enemies that are just barely holding on. For example, imagine Palpatine that is almost defeated. You would love to have this basic attack to try to make sure Palpatine is finished before he gets an opportunity to regenerate health. And this also has a lot of viability in the Sith Rage. You're going to have a lot of minions, and this will help you knock out those minions a lot faster so you can start triggering the various bonuses that bounty hunters can get. Moving on to his next ability, it's his first special known as Hunting Party. He has a cooldown of 4, and this is by far my favorite ability for Bossk. With the past couple faction reworks that we've seen so far, we've seen the developers make an effort to at least make one of the characters some sort of character that calls on the entire faction to assist off them. And in here, this is where Bossk plays his role. The final text says, deal physical damage to a target enemy and stun them for 1 turn. And on top of that, here's the cool part. Call all other Bounty Hunter allies to assist, dealing 60% less damage. If the target is the weakest enemy, reduce all assisting Bounty Hunter allies cooldowns by 1. Now don't let the 60% less damage fool you, let me tell you, because the Bounty Hunters are going to get a lot of buffs to generate so much extra damage. Bossk's taunt ability alone, as we'll find out, grants offense up, so that makes up for a lot of the reduction of damage this ability is causing for other bounty hunters. And as we'll find out, one new aspect of the bounty hunters are their contracts, and various contracts grant so much additional damage, so oftentimes we see this Hunting Party ability be a finishing blow for the character that Bossk is attacking. Very cool ability. The last special ability that we have is called Predator Instincts, cooldown of 4, and here's where Bossk can taunt. He dispels all debuffs on himself, recovers 50% health, quite a big boost right there, then gains Frenzy, which we haven't heard in a long time, and Taunt for 3 turns. All Bounty Hunter allies gain offense up for 2 turns as well. This ability really screams Transocean survivability. Being able to get rid of all the ugly stuff off him and regenerate 50% health is quite huge and makes it very difficult for Night Sisters to knock him out with Plague. A 3-turn taunt is also huge. One of the longer taunting tanks in the game, up there with Stormtrooper with that 3-turn taunt, and Frenzy is a buff we don't really see much aside from Biston. What Frenzy does is anytime an ally uses a special ability, that character with Frenzy gains 100% turn meter. So the goal of Bossk is to first use Predator Instinct, put on that taunt, give everyone offense up, and then have one of your allies use a special ability so Bossk can gain 100% turn meter, and you can quickly go right into his Hunting Party mass assist ability. That right there, in my opinion, is the best combo to use Bossk. Bossk also has a leader ability and a Zeta attached to it. What it says in total is that all bounty hunters gain 50% max protection, that's huge right there, as well as plus 50% tenacity. all bounty hunters gain plus 100% defense while at full health. Then whenever an enemy suffers a debuff or resists a debuff, all bounty hunter allies recover 5% health and protection, which is going to be quite cool, as we'll talk about in a second. And lastly, when Bossk is in the leader slot and not the ally slot, the following contract is active. Now we're going to talk more about contracts in depth in a moment here, but for the time being, imagine contracts being a mini challenge, and if this challenge is completed, bounty hunters gain a variety of bonuses. And the contract that is active when Bossk is leading, it says deal damage to the lowest health enemy 10 times. So that is pretty much the challenge, and if that challenge is completed by the bounty hunters, there is a reward that is granted to all bounty hunter allies. Since this is a leadership contract, all bounty hunter allies gain plus 50 speed for the rest of the battle. And that is quite a huge bonus that is being granted to all the bounty hunter allies, but also each character individually has their own contract that is triggered when the leadership contract is completed. Again, more on that in a second, but let's kind of loop our way back around to the leadership ability for Bossk. The main reason why I'm looping back to Bossk's leadership ability is mainly to address thermal detonators and his leadership. One of the biggest problems of thermal detonators is the fact that they are easily cleansable and easily resistible. Well, in this circumstance, when you're applying, let's say, thermal detonators on characters, although they might not stick, you're granting a ton of health bonuses to all of your characters on the team, as well as protection. And aside from just thermal detonators, a lot of debuffs are being applied from all the bounty hunters, so this actually is quite significant, especially for those marathon type of events. Putting our discussion of contracts on hold, we'll get back to it in a moment. Let's talk about the unique ability called Transocean Rage. It has a Zeta ability, and in total, the final text says Bossk has plus 50% defense and plus 50% max health while he has Taunt, and he gains plus 50% offense and plus 50% health steal while attacking buffed enemies. And then when Bossk loses his Taunt, he gains Taunt for 1 turn if the weakest enemy has protection. Quite interesting right there. As you probably realize by now, Bossk's kit revolves around a lot of things, and one of those things is kind of punishing weak enemies on the other side of the team. Now, his primary taunt from his special ability is already a 3-turn taunt, and there might be a chance that by the time he loses that taunt, he might just taunt again if the weakest enemy on the other team has protection. And normally this is the point where we wrap up a character's kit, but we're coming back to the topic of contracts, because on top of the fact that bounty hunter leaders now have a contract ability attached to them, each individual bounty hunter themselves have their own personal contract. Think of it as another unique ability that applies to only that character alone. For time-saving purposes, in this video, we're just going to talk about Bossk's contract that he grants to himself, but be sure to check out the other video that went live today if you want to look at the other bounty hunters and their contracts that they offer. But let's look at Bossk's contract. It's called Bossk's Payout, and it says whenever Bossk receives rewards from a contract, aka from the leadership contract, he also gains the following payout. And contracts are granted by certain bounty hunter leader abilities, as it explains here. When the contract from the leadership is complete, the payout for Bossk is that he recovers 5% health and 5% protection at the start of his turn, and half that much whenever another bounty hunter ally starts their turn. So now this is a good time to come back to that previous conversation of contracts and explain what's going on here in a bit more depth. Now with the original trilogy bounty hunter reworks, every single bounty hunter from the original trilogy now has a leadership ability, and within their leadership ability, they have a unique contract that they assign for the whole team to kind of tackle together as a team. Now be sure to check out the other video to see what the new leaderships look like and all the various contracts that the leaderships are now granting. But let's say, for example, Bossk is leading your bounty hunters, and as we saw, the contract that he's assigning for the whole team to tackle together, it says deal damage to the lowest health enemy 10 times, and if this is completed, he grants a reward for all the bounty hunters to benefit from, which is all bounty hunter allies gain plus 50 speed for the rest of the battle. So as we see from the footage, when the leadership contract is completed, you're going to get 2 unique locked blue buff icons hovering over these bounty hunters. One of them indicates the bonus that is granted from completing the contract attached to the leadership that all bounty hunters enjoy. The other locked blue icon indicates that the individual payout for each character has also also been triggered, and that individual payout only applies to that character alone. So again, coming back to our example of Bossk, let's say they complete the leadership contract that Bossk assigned, and that allows all bounty hunter allies to gain that reward from Bossk's leadership. But Bossk, he's going to get his own unique individual payout, which allows him to recover health and protection regen, as we just saw. And this unique payout that Bossk is getting, Boba Fett doesn't get, IG-88 doesn't get, Dengar does not get, and Greedo does not get, but they will get their own unique payout that is kind of designed towards their kit. Kind of wrapping up our conversation on Bossk, his kit is just so unique and really fits a lot of the things that the bounty hunters needed to kind of bring themselves together and bring their individual talents to overcome their enemies. Right from the very get-go, Bossk looks like he's going to have a ton of viability, and mainly I'm seeing a lot of viability for the heroic Sith raid, or the Sith raid in general. In some of the gameplay we're seeing, the bounty hunters and Bossk were able to knock out 4% of the Sith heroic raid in phase 2, and that's quite significant. I think there also might be some arena viability in Bossk, but we're gonna have to do some more testing on that. But for sure, I think Bossk and the bounty hunters are going to be very nasty in territory wars. A lot of assists, a lot of bonus attacks, a lot of damage output, a lot of buffs, a lot of taunting, a lot of health regeneration, yada yada yada. So be on the lookout for that. I'm thinking that we might see a lot of Bossk and bounty hunters in territory wars as well. That's going to be it for this video. This video is only covering Bossk, and for time-saving purposes, I made another video. So go ahead and check out that video if you want to get a breakdown of all the bounty hunter reworks, because there's a lot of substantial stuff in there that I'm really liking. So be sure to check that out. Let me know down below what you guys are thinking of Bossk and the bounty hunters in general. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. But if you did enjoy this video, go ahead, like it, and be sure to subscribe so you're not missing a thing. And as always,